welcome to the Northern Monkeys Cricket Show, to what should be Day 4 review of the third test of England against India, Ahmedabad. But the game finished in 2 days, goes down in history as the shortest test match with a completed result since 1935. India's the shortest test match in Indian history where there has been a completed result. India win by 10 wickets in the end. 30 wickets fell inside 2 days, most of them on day 2, to be fair. We have Mick and Wayne, who are here with us.
Hello.
Hello. There's going to be some stuff we're going to talk about, and we're going to try and, not be too negative and not be too throwing the blame game around. But this is going to be quite difficult to be positive about it from just a cricketing point of view, not necessarily from an England point of view, from a cricketing point of view. It was a disappointing game, and I've been a disappointing tour so far from that point of view. So we'll start with the pitch. So we thought the second test out in Chennai was a bit of an issue. It wasn't a very good pitch, but you could bat on it. It was possible to be able to bat on that. Wayne, this just seemed like, I don't even have the words to describe what it seemed like. It was a very, very bad pitch. If I'm calling it a pitch is probably kind.
Yeah, so I'm going to start off by saying good things about the pitch. I'm now done. So
Wayne, hang on. Let me just pull you up there. I'm sorry to get you mid-flow, but it was one of the good things was it was actually within the stadium.
Oh yes, yeah.
I mean that is a positive. Yeah. You know what I mean? People who paid to see the cricket could see the pitch.
Yeah, there was a boundary rope. I definitely remember a boundary rope. That's a positive.
Yeah.
There was some paint on pitch. I definitely remember some lines being painted.
Are you sure? Because the umpire weren't sure.
Yeah. So there was definitely some there. I mean, most of them went around the centre of the wicket, but there's the positives. Let's move on to the negatives. It was shit. It was utter shit. Now, I know there's issues around nations and nationalities, and we have each nation prepares different pitches in a different way. And we can't expect every nation in the world to prepare an English wicket. That's completely wrong of us to assume that. However, if you are going to prepare a test match pitch, that pitch must be possible to be played on for 5 days. The pitch that they prepared for this third test couldn't be played on for 5 overs. It was a disgrace. And, you look at the amount of runs scored in that game, and yeah, there were some bad shots to get out to, but 90% of the wickets that fell were to deliveries that should not have done what they did. Yeah. Anil Kumble, which I believe Anil Kumble is India's leading wicket taker, if he played on just those pitches, he would have very easily hit the 5,000 wickets mark. It's just embarrassing. If you can't prepare a pitch to play test match cricket on, you should not be hosting test match cricket. Stick to your T20s and your one-dayers if that's what you want to do. Quite frankly, you should not be allowed to. They should have looked at that pitch after the first session and gone, you know what, this is wrong. This is not a test match cricket pitch. Let's just bin it, because there's not going to be any excitement in it. There was no excitement in the game. It was all inevitable. It didn't particularly matter which way we're going to go. And we can argue about team selection, which I'm sure we will do shortly, but it was never going to make a difference. We don't have 4 spinners.
Yeah.
We've only got 3 now. We've sent, I suppose you can count Root nowadays, but prior to this game, now that we've sent Moeen on, we've only got 3 spinners anyway.
It's a shame, Mick, because it was shaping up to be a cracking series. We all saw what India went and did out in Australia, on Australian pitches. Obviously, they did very badly in the first test, but in the second, third, and fourth test, they were outstanding and rightly beat a decent enough Australian team on Australian pitches.
Yeah.
So this Indian team is clearly a world-class outfit.
Yeah.
but we wouldn't. But it's impossible to know and find out based on. And to be fair, even the first test, it wasn't a particularly good pitch. It was a first innings pitch, and then it deteriorated massively.
Yeah.
It's a shame that it's not. It doesn't feel like a proper Test match series anymore. It just feels like these pitches are made for 3 or 4 spinners.
It's pretty embarrassing, really, isn't it? Let's be fair. I mean, before this series started, I was a big fan of Indian cricket. Really was, and you know they are a world-class side. There's no doubt about that. However, the performance of Indian cricket as a whole over the course of these 3 Test matches so far has been genuinely embarrassing. Because it's, I mean, I suppose as England supporters and as an England team, we maybe should take some positives out of it. And because what it says to me is that India were scared of us. They must have been.
After the first test.
There can be no other reason for them to produce pitches like this. I've sort of lauded Virat Kohli as being a wonderful footballer. He might be good at football, I've no idea. But certainly when it comes to playing cricket, he's very, very good. But he's absolutely just... He's sewn it up for me with his comments about it. There's nothing wrong with the pitch. It was just poor batting from both sides. Absolute joke. I'm sorry, mate, but if you want to be taken seriously as an international sportsman, coming out with comments like that is just, mate, pack it in. Just pack it in or grow up. You know what I mean? It's pathetic.
I wonder if a bit of politics was played here. India,
so.
Cricket in India is the sport.
Yeah.
And after that first test, they were embarrassed that they lost. And it was a brilliant performance by England, but they were embarrassed that we lost. And during that first test, I actually praised the umpires. I thought the umpires were brilliant. I think there was probably maybe one decision we talked about in the first test that we thought was somewhere contentious. And then the second test, you prepare a pitch like that, and then you get some very strange umpiring decisions and some very strange third umpiring decisions, including things like, not playing through the full replays and not looking at certain elements of dismissals. And then you get to a third test match pitch, and they prepare that. I've got no evidence to back this up other than what we've seen. However, you've got to look at that and think, as some politics being played here, a lot of the ICC board are very favourable towards Indian cricket because of the amount of money that things like the IPL bring in. Yeah. And there's got to be questions raised about whether it was done to further India's line to get through to the Test Championship final. So I believe if they win the fourth one as well, they got through to the final instead of Australia.
Yeah, I can understand. You can excuse the second test in Chennai. You can understand that being a bad pitch because it was a quick turnaround. And we saw last year in England at Old Trafford and the Rose Bowl, it was quite difficult for the second test match that was played. It was quite difficult for the groundsman to make sure the pitch was as good as the first one. So you can almost give a little bit of an excuse for the second test because it was the same venue. There's absolutely no excuse for this third test because there's been no test match played here for a long time. They've had months and months, probably a year or so. Bear in mind, India haven't played at home for a while to prepare a test match wicket. And the stadium's fantastic. That stadium looks absolutely stunning. I'd love to go and watch cricket there, but I would never want to watch a game like that.
If you're going to watch cricket there for fourth test, be prepared for it to be over in 20 overs. You know what I mean?
I think when Mark Waugh, or certainly in Australia, said when Joe Root's getting 5 for 8, something's not right.
Yeah,
bang on.
Yeah, Joe Root is a good bowler. If he was playing county cricket, he would probably get quite a lot of wickets in a season as a bowler. But he should not be getting 5s at international level. Never mind 5 for fucking 8.
Yeah,
I watched him get 4 for something, 4 for 12 or something like that for Yorkshire against Lancashire in a Roses county championship game. That were taking out the tail basically. He got Joss Butler and Jimmy Anderson out of those, but he was pretty much taken. Other than Butler taken out the tail. This shouldn't be happening.
He's got an odd action. He's very quick for a spinner, and I can understand how for tail enders, I can understand why it can be quite difficult because he's a little bit unorthodox. But there's no way he should be troubling a reasonable batsman. The thing is with the pitch, there's no consistency. Obviously, our commentators even said he bowled 2 balls exactly the same. One goes straight on and one spins. So it's alright. You see people on Twitter and Facebook saying, "Oh, pitch can't be that bad if it went straight on." Well, that's part of the problem. There's just no consistency. If it span all the time, then that'd be consistency. If it didn't spin all the time, that's sort of what you expect. For one to spin, to leg side, and one to not spin, it's just crazy.
I think I would have quite easily taken at least 2 wickets on that pitch.
Yeah,
and I've only ever taken 2 wickets. I've only ever taken 2 wickets total.
Yeah, I agree. But you saw it coming when this team selections came up. India picked 3 spinners, and England picked effectively 1. I know Moeen Ali wasn't there, but we could have picked Don Bess. If England knew the pitch was going to play like that, I'm pretty certain they would have picked Don Bess. So again, that sort of unfortunately backs up Wayne's point that this was known, and I agree that we talked about this is talked about a lot. But teams who are home should prepare a pitch that favours their team. They absolutely should. I'm not saying they shouldn't, but it's got to be a pitch that is capable of standing up for at least 3.5 days. It doesn't necessarily need to be a 5-match test match because for it to deteriorate over the last day or so, it adds to it. It adds a bit of skill to it. But for it to deteriorate after the first session is just not acceptable at Test match cricket. It's just beyond anything that's reasonable.
And it's a big call because we lost, but we should have looked at it at the end of that first session and gone, is this really suitable to be carrying on with this sort of pitch? I mean, if you turned up for a game of football and the pitch is waterlogged and you've gone, well, we can have a kickabout for 20 minutes, but after 20 minutes it's just going to turn into a mud bath, so what's the point? You would not play because you realise the pitch is going to be ruined after 20 minutes. So it's going to be a non-contest. You don't go, we're fine. We'll play for 20 minutes and then we'll just, for final 70, we'll just do whatever we want because it's not going to matter because the pitch is going to be irrelevant. We might as well just put it up in air constantly. You don't do that. You don't prepare a football pitch that can only be played on for 20 minutes, and you don't prepare a cricket pitch that can only be battered on for a day and a half in a Test match. It's just.
The difference there, Wayne, is that you're talking about Sunday League football, and this is Test match cricket. This is elite world sport.
Against two of the best as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's running scared is the bottom line. India are running scared. There can be another explanation for that, whether it's the BCCI, whether it's the Indian team, whether it's a combination of both. They are running scared. And the comments from Virat Kohli just go to prove that. I mean, how he expects anybody else in the world to think that he's got any credibility after saying something like that is just, it beggars belief, really. I mean, it's pathetic.
Yeah, I had me, you and Odin had a conversation a few months ago about going to the India Test at Edinburgh in August. And I was saying, it's brilliant, come with because the Indian fans are fantastic. You'll really get involved with them. They make the atmosphere. And I've lost a lot of respect for India for the way these last few tests have been played and the way that their team and the fans have reacted to it. So I'd like to think that by the time they come to Headingley in August on a proper, seamers wicket, we're going to have a different contest.
Well, yeah.
You will.
It'll be green everywhere.
You will, but then you're falling into up to a point. You're falling into the same sort of trap, aren't you? Preparing a seamers wicket and blah blah blah. They've got seamers that can exploit that. That's fine. That's not a problem. We've also got spinners who could possibly exploit. The conditions not that bad, but spinning conditions. So some of the blame for this and for the defeat. Not the pitch, but some of the blame for the defeat. You have to be looking at the selectors and captain of England and saying, we're in India, you're picking one spinner. What are you doing?
My comment was slightly tongue-in-cheek. The only difference is that the day I bought tickets for is day 3, and I expect there to be cricket on that day.
Hopefully.
In England in August.
It is a shame. We'll talk about some positives, and then we'll come back to the umpiring in a minute. But it's a shame because this has got lost in the wash. Ashwin's gone past 400 Test wickets, and that should be celebrated. But it can't be celebrated. This is the thing; it can't be celebrated on a pitch like that because he should be getting. I think Axar Patel got 11 wickets. Ashwin got 8 or 9 in the game. He should have got that amount of wickets because of how good a bowler he is. He could have got that many wickets on a decent pitch. But we'll see that in the summer how he goes on English, but he's done well in England in the past, to be fair, actually.
Yeah.
The keen third umpire, Wayne, we always come to you on matters of refereeing decisions in football and umpiring decisions in cricket. He was very keen to make sure he got all the ones that could have got Indian batsmen out. He was very, very keen to look at them a lot. And certainly one in particular that springs to mind where I can't remember who the batsman was, whoever top scored the first innings for India, was a very close stumping, which was superb work by Folks, by the way. His wicketkeeping has been absolutely outstanding. Thoughts, Wim?
Yeah, Rohit Sharma, weren't it?
That's the one.
Right. Yeah. I've got to be careful that I don't keep bringing this back to some sort of international incident where I declare that BCCI intentionally cheated and that umpires are intentionally cheating, because I don't want to believe that such a thing happens in cricket, despite the fact that there's been many proven instances over the years of cheating in cricket.
Well, yeah.
However, there doesn't appear to be the same level of thought process going into decisions towards India and decisions towards England. And I think it's been proven a few times during these tests. So it seems to be a case of, Indian batsman, he's fine, he's grounded, he's behind line, let's move on. England batsman, let's have a look. No, don't think I see anything behind line, let's move on. I mean, we were looking at the same sort of incidents here. If this was anywhere else in the world, we'd be really examining it, we'd be zooming in and taking us time over the decision. It's almost like the decision's been made prior to even looking at the replay. And you've got a decision in your mind and you're just sticking with it. You're using whatever's coming on the screen to vindicate your decision, regardless of whether your decision is correct or not. And I hate having to say this, but there's got to be questions raised now. They've got fans in the stadium. Do they really need all Indian umpires now?
Well, yeah, it brought because of COVID issues, and you're right. Is it necessary anymore? I don't think it is. I think we've come to a point where I think in the PSL, the Pakistan Super League, I don't think it's all Pakistani umpires. So why Test cricket, which is more important than the PSL, why can't we have different umpires? From Sri Lanka, from Australia. If they want to be from, I couldn't care less whether they're from England or not. I honestly couldn't care less. That Sharma one for me, I was sat watching it. I got up to get closer to the telly to check because I thought it looked really, really close, and I'm still not sure if we were out or not. I think he could have been, but I don't think there was anywhere near enough due diligence made towards making the correct decision on that one compared to other ones where Indian batsmen were eventually given not out. Joe Root mentioned it. It's about consistency. If the decision don't go out, it don't go your way, it doesn't really matter as long as it's the right decision. And I'm not convinced they were the right decisions because the checks weren't good enough.
Yeah, it's a shame. Thoughts, Mike?
Yeah, it's very difficult. It's very difficult to talk about these sorts of things without sounding as though you're either accusing somebody of cheating or whatever. You know what I mean? And I don't want to do that. I'm much like yourselves. I don't want to believe that there's anything underhand at play here. And that's my final answer.
Very, very diplomatic, Michael. Well done.
Yeah, fair enough. The issue is the fourth test coming up, starting on Thursday. The issue with the fourth test, I mentioned earlier that I can understand the second test in Chennai being a bad pitch because there was not much turnaround. You're going to see the same situation. There's no reason to think that this second pitch is going to be better because they have less time, literally have less time to prepare for it. And you would assume it would have started off the same level before they've had 2 days worth of players running all over it in the third test. I think we should start with about 5 spinners in the fourth test, England, and then see what happens.
Play them all. Get best Leach, best Parkinson route. Get them all on.
What's Gareth Batty doing nowadays?
Commentating on TalkSport.
I think he's dead.
Graham Swan's out there. Get Graham Swan playing.
Yeah.
Swanee would still be turning it on that pitch. Swanee would be pitching on off stump and he'd be going at right angles to square leg.
Have India got to win this game to qualify for the final?
I don't know.
I think they have to win.
Not lose, I think.
I think they've got to win.
We had to win 3-1 to qualify. England had to qualify and win 3-1. I think India just had to win. England had to win 2-1. India need to win the Test series 2-1, 3-1, 2-0, or 4-0.
So you've got your answer as to what the pitch is going to be like, then, haven't you?
All they need to do is not lose. That's all they need to do. And
you've got your answer then.
Technically through.
Based on, and I base that purely on what's happened so far in this series. There's your answer. That's what the pitch is going to be like. So we're going to be, we're recording now on the Saturday. We're not going to watch any cricket next Saturday, are we?
You know what's really upsetting is that cricket in the UK is back on free to air for the first time in 16 years. It's brilliant to actually see cricket being sent to the mainstream, and yet you're preparing pitches like that, which is just killing off viewership. I'm not looking forward to a fourth test. It's not going to be a spectacle. If this fourth test is in any way exciting, I don't particularly care on the result, but if it's in any way exciting, I'll be amazed. It's not going to be. It's going to be a non-contest again. Absolutely golden opportunity to bring cricket back to the masses, and they've killed it.
I hope you're wrong, Wayne, but I think we all know that you're not.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. But bear in mind that if England do win and it finishes 2-2, Australia will get through to the World Test Championship final. So do you really want England to win?
Mm-hmm.
No, well, it's a good point, actually.
No.
Can we just concede?
I think we did that in third test, didn't we?
Oh, yeah, we did, didn't we? Yeah, my apologies, yeah.
The other bad thing from an England point of view is there's nobody would have learnt that much about their own game during this test. The spinners won't have had to learn much. Not many the batsmen could have tried to have learned. Now, Dom Sibley had a poor third test, but I don't blame him for having a poor third test. Ben Stokes has not really scored many, but I don't blame Ben Stokes for not scoring many. I don't blame any of the Indian batsmen for not. Kohli's not really got as many runs as he should this series. I don't particularly blame him. I don't think he could have done much more. You know what I mean? It's impossible to take anything away from this test series so far, other than Joe Root having an amazing first test. I think Sharma as well in the second test got 131, 50, something like that.
Yeah.
Other than that, there's not much to take away from this test series, which is a shame.
Yeah, it is, absolutely.
We're all looking forward to it. But you never know. There's a possibility of an okay game. I think it's slim, but you never know for the game coming up on Thursday. We will hope more than expect in terms of a positive game for both teams. But then there's a T20 and one-day series coming up. I'm sure they can prepare those pitches pretty well, I suspect. So we'll see. So thank you all for watching, listening, getting involved. We'll be back on for the third test, for the fourth test. Sorry, it may not be every day, but it'll be. The idea was we were going to come and do a day 3 review yesterday. That didn't happen, so that's why we waited until today, just to make sure we're all available at a reasonable time. So we'll see what happens in the fourth test, and hopefully we'll see it at some point whilst the game is still ongoing. But who knows?
That's pretty quick.
Exactly, yeah. So thank you, Mick. It's been a pleasure.
You're very welcome.
And thank you, Wayne. I don't think you upset too many people.
I hope not.
And please subscribe. Click on the monkey in the bottom corner, and follow us on Twitter and Facebook. On there as well, which I assume you will be. We will see you all very, very soon. Cheers, guys.
The monkey. The monkey. The monkey.